Greetings and welcome to the Dr. Dave Vlog Series. It's Wednesday, September 10th, 2025, and on Wednesdays we talk about emotional well-being and relationships. So humans have long had a special relationship with flowers, attracted to their beauty even when they provide no physical sustenance or when resources are low. And while flowers can provide some medicinal uses and they can often serve as a sign of fertility in the land, the main motivation, at least for growing flowers and sharing them with others, seems to be aesthetic. Flowers offer a multi-sensory experience that includes smell, texture, and color beyond just the visual beauty. And of course, flowers require that human beings engage in the physical search for and tending toward flowers and simply bending over to smell them. So they require a lot of physical action on our own part. And flowers are important in our relationships because they symbolically and literally are a reflection of human efforts to care for their development. And of course, they require water, they require sunlight, and that we handle them gently. From the perspective of our embodied selves, the phenomenological experience of ourself, flowers then imply multiple levels of physical engagement and the use of all of our senses. So flowers demand, of course, that we have to search them out in nature, that we have to get close to them, to pick them, carry them, etc. And tending to and enjoying flowers enable us to interact in a skilled fashion with the environment and engage our worlds. So there's added value, if you will, to the experience of being a flower grower, as it were. And all of these behaviors then as such create positive emotions. And even without necessarily there being a survival incentive to engage with flowers. And then the fact that we share these with our loved ones or significant others conveys a special sense of joy and connectedness, not only to nature, but at the interpersonal level. And so these enhance our relationships. You could even argue then that flowers are sort of evolutionarily evolved in some respects to evoke human emotions and attract our attention. So according to Efrat Hos and her colleagues at Ben Gurion University, flowers have aesthetic and embodied experiences that attract human beings and enhance our well-being. So first, there's several reasons for this. So first, from an evolutionary perspective, flowers use their aesthetic characteristics to attract humans to grow them and to propagate them, much like the activate insects with pollen. And in turn, for humans, flowers, as I say, may evoke positive emotions. They can help predict food growing possibilities. They can be used as medicines as well. But they essentially show us and reflect for us how human beings can live in a healthier environment. In addition, the colors of flowers can actually be helpful in terms of identifying or finding ripe fruits against a green background. But even if we're just growing ornamental flowers as such, there's still a certain advantage, if you will, in terms of human beings actively investing their resources in growing these because they tend to enhance interpersonal relationships, again, in a number of different ways. So, and then in addition, flowers have a strong visual component, obviously. And vision's a multimodal process that entails the activation not only of the visual aspects or areas of the brain, but also our sensory motor, visceromotor, and affective, that is, cerebral circuits as well. And so on this level, flowers essentially activate multiple parts of the brain, and they create, therefore, a stimulating perceptual experience. The compositional elements of flowers, such as their color and their shapes and their patterns, are repeated on a consistent basis, especially in their petal arrangements And again, I talked about this the other day in terms of the Fibonacci sequence or the golden ratios. And as such, when we see these visual depictions or expressions in nature, they naturally attract us. We take aesthetic pleasure in viewing these sorts of symmetrical flowers that have just the right symmetry, the right colors that are attractive to us. And they kind of provide that sense of balance and familiarity that we so crave in much of our human experience. And again, this activates parts of the brain. It has a calming influence, that gentle influence of familiarity, and so on. And so flowers essentially actively organize our perceptual experiences, give us these really strong, important focal points, as it were, within the environment. And the visual stimulation that they provide, together with the ease of recognition and the familiarity that's engendered by the symmetry in the flower shapes, likely stimulates the brain, or seems to stimulate the brain, and it's associated then with improved moods and general sort of sense making of the entire world. So, and then the perceptual flowers go beyond just the visual, of course, to include their smells and even the movements that they make and other sensory stimuli. So flowers then evoke, this multisensory experience by just simply watching them in nature, watching them sway in the wind, or they're used often, as you well know, in perfumes in another context as well. And then the sensory stimuli also have this important additional component. They'll often stimulate the autobiographical memories that we have, creating, again, a web of positive associations around flowers through their former experiences, through our knowledge and the different components and the ways in which these have, if you will, shaped some of our experiences or hold memories or clues to our past, things that we recognize, things that we value. So, for example, color, smell, and shape have been shown to connect to the autobiographical memories that we have and stimulate the recall and our ability to access long-term memories. And so these cultural levels sort of cut through the sensory association with these previous positive experiences, which is likely the reasons then that flowers are so often connected to social events, such as romance and celebrations within the context of specific cultural constructions of meanings. And then flowers also, as embodied aesthetics, become socially embedded as well. They enhance the pleasant stimulation of the brain that's connected to our positive social experiences. And this can be a central incentive then for why humans like to grow and share flowers. In one study, for example, positive emotions were maintained for 3 days after receiving flowers and made people more likely to smile and create more social contact when given flowers. And of course, who doesn't absolutely love the beautiful flower arrangements that we see at weddings and other important celebrations? These evoke the same kind of positive emotions, the connections with others, and stimulate the important memories that we've had in the past and that we are literally creating and recreating as we live our lives forward. So people, in effect, simply become happier when they're given a large bunch of flowers. And they're actually happier receiving flowers from a loved one as opposed to receiving money. Who doesn't love getting money? So again, the embodied sensory level of flowers seems to be connected to, again, the positive elements of relationships, from the romantic and the sexual to the celebratory and other types of positive interactions. And again, finally, then, on the level of the connection between the embodied aesthetics and this notion of resilience, Resilience can be enhanced by focusing on positive thoughts and emotions. And this might be a hint then as to the real motivation behind cultivating flowers, to create a positive experience in the world. And in fact, art therapy and nature therapy utilize visual elements such as mandalas and positive images from nature to create a safe place to help regulate emotions, as but one example. So again, these embodied aesthetic experiences have healing qualities in themselves. And that, again, they help us to reconnect with positive social experiences by stimulating the mind, our senses, and our bodies in ways that such that we can interact more positively with others and with our natural environments. So it's not an accident then that we tend to send flowers to mark or to contribute to important events, especially not only the happy ones, like I said, like the weddings and expressions of joy and anniversaries and that sort of thing, but also as condolences to those, for example, who have lost a loved one. So, all right, much more to say about flowers in the vlogs ahead as well. As ever, in the meantime, may you and yours continue to create peace in your lives, nurture love in your hearts, and dole out hugs and flowers in abundance. We'll see you soon.